How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me today. So yesterday we had the B Word conference where we had the discussion between Elon Musk, Cathie Wood, and Jack Dorsey. It was a highly anticipated event. A lot of people thought there was going to be some big announcements coming from this event. After watching it over, there wasn't really any big announcements per se, but there was a decent amount of good information in there. And, despite us in the community not agreeing with some or all of the people in this discussion, I agreed with a few of the things that they said. So I'm going to be going over some of the highlights of this interview, breaking it down, giving you my opinions on it. But before we get into that, if at any point you enjoy this video, please consider hitting the like, subscribe, and turning on my post notifications. I'm a really small channel, so any amount of support goes an extremely long way. I appreciate it, everybody. So let's get right into this. The first clip I'm going to be showing you is of Elon. And in this clip, Elon basically says that not only does Tesla own Bitcoin, and Tesla is not planning on selling their Bitcoin anytime soon, but also Elon personally owns Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin, and that SpaceX also owns Bitcoin, which a lot of us in the space theorize because it is not a publicly traded company, therefore he does not have to disclose its holdings, but he does confirm in this that SpaceX also holds Bitcoin.
Like Ethereum, like Dogecoin. I think Ethereum also, the three things I own outside of SpaceX and Tesla, and also obviously it's Neuralink and Boring Company, but of any significance are Bitcoin by far, and then some Ethereum and some Doge. So if the price of Bitcoin goes down, I lose money. I'm not sort of, I might pump, but I don't dump. So, it's not a case of, I definitely do not believe in, in getting the price high and selling or anything like that. And I would like to see Bitcoin succeed.
And for the sake of time consumption in this video, I'm not going to show you this whole clip because he kind of rants for a while. I'll just explain to you what he says in one of the next questions he's asked regarding Bitcoin's energy usage and whether or not he will allow Tesla to accept Bitcoin again. Now this part, I don't know if he's being entirely truthful, but he essentially says that when he announced Tesla bought Bitcoin and will accept Bitcoin for payments, it sent Bitcoin to the moon, like we all know, not only in price but in usage, and it caused lots of congestion on the network, leading to higher energy usage, and apparently he felt responsible for doing that, and that was the cause of the sudden switch in his sentiment towards it and his reason for Tesla not accepting Bitcoin anymore. But he did say that now that Bitcoin's price has dropped and the congestion is a lot lower, the energy usage is dramatically lower. And despite what I believe to be pretty solid evidence that more than 50% of Bitcoin's hash rate is run off of renewable energy sources, he says he needs to do more research before Tesla will accept Bitcoin, but he notices that it's moving in a positive direction. So that was basically his excuse as to what happened with his pump and dump that he did with Bitcoin, even though he wouldn't call it that. So in this next clip, Elon is asked what he feels his role in Bitcoin is and what his beliefs are for the future. And he does indeed say that he believes in Bitcoin's future and that it will lead to more power for the individual, which is something I agree with.
Yeah, I mean, I generally think we should do things that benefit the people as a whole and increase the probability that the future is good. So, I think to me, it just seems self-evident that we should kind of take these set of actions most likely to make the future good. And I think probably, crypto or, some of the cryptocurrencies will make the future better, most likely. It's not, I always think of these things in terms of probabilities, but I think it's probably better for there to be a prosperous Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, maybe some others in the future. And I think it can have an empowering effect for individuals, and increase the power of the individual relative to government. And really, if you think of government is just a corporation in the limit. So sometimes some people are like against corporations but for government. It's like, guys, government is just a corporation in the limit. It's the biggest corporation of all, and it's got a monopoly on violence. So if you don't like corporations, you should really hate government.
So, like I said, I agree with the fact that in the future, I do believe a prosperous Bitcoin is a positive thing, as well as Ethereum. I think it'll give more power to the individual. Of course, that's what we all want. Now, next up, we have a clip from Cathie Wood. Now, I agree with some things in this clip. I don't exactly understand entirely how the old financial system works. Still trying to understand that, but she also talks about how removing friction can lead to more growth, how it'll be beneficial for the community, and how people are going to be using Bitcoin as a hedge against not just inflation, but counterparty risk.
We'll try to wrap up in 10 minutes. So let's move on to future of Bitcoin. So Tesla and Square have both put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Cathie, I'm curious to hear from you. What advice would you have for other institutions looking to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet?
Well, I guess the first piece of advice is, just make sure, and I actually learned this after both Square and Tesla put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. The Bitcoin is being treated as an intangible asset. And so we need to get FASB to reconsider this, because with an intangible asset, if the asset goes up in price, it can't be marked up on their books. But if it goes down, it must be marked down. So, there's some asymmetry there, which is, we need to change that given what we believe Bitcoin is. And I do believe if, I'll harken back to something, well, it was either Elon or Jack said, think about it, you take away the boundaries, the different currencies, just think about how explosive growth could be and how wide-reaching taking the friction out of the system could be. So I would encourage corporations to think about that this ability to do business anywhere in the world, ultimately, obviously, we're paving the way here. That's certainly a consideration. It also will serve as a hedge against inflation, especially, and as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of emerging markets that are suffering from significant inflation. In other words, the purchasing power of those populations is going down. So they are going to migrate to Bitcoin and other ways to preserve purchasing power. And again, being able to sell to them in that kind of currency would be very useful. I'd also suggest, once again, this idea of deflation, I think, is going to be a real thing. There's going to be good deflation caused by innovation, so demand will boom because of that. There's going to be bad deflation because so many companies out there have not been investing enough in innovation. Their products are going to go obsolete, and they're going to be stuck trying to service the debt that they piled on because their shareholders wanted profits and wanted them now. So they leveraged up to buy back their shares and pay dividends, and so I think that's going to be the source of bad deflation and counterparty risk. And we learned from 08, 09 that counterparty risk can be devastating. almost cataclysmic. So a hedge against that as well, I think, would be another reason to do it.
Next up is a short little clip from Elon, where he just says that essentially his European bank accounts have negative interest because of this inflation that we're seeing, and he's essentially seeing his money in these European bank accounts go down in real time, which I find pretty interesting.
It's funny, it kind of like Tesla's bank balances in Europe have negative interest rate. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, if you've got like 2% inflation on 1% interest, you're technically minus 1% return. But nonetheless, it is quite annoying to just see your bank balance drop in real time in Europe. Europe has negative interest rates. This is insane.
Paying the banks, paying the banks to hold
the bank to keep your money. I'm like, what?
It is crazy.
Like, what? We definitely move that into Bitcoin.
I believe Ray Dalio said, buy Bitcoin and not bonds. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Next up is a clip from Jack Dorsey. He was asked how can Bitcoin's design affect Bitcoin and whether or not he believes it needs to be changed. And essentially, he says that Bitcoin by design is already the best store of value system that we have come up with so far. But one of its biggest design flaws is its barrier to entry, which is something I very much agree with. So,
Jack, you've talked about design being an underfunded area in Bitcoin. And Elon earlier mentioned, usability could improve a lot. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. What do you see as the future of how can design impact Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Bitcoin network is beautifully designed as a protocol in the way it works. I mean, it went after a single problem, and it does in an absolutely astounding way. But I think the endpoints of people getting into it is still a little bit confusing. So I think the more energy we spend on wallets and making sure that the wallets are simple and accessible and they're non-custodial as well.
Yeah.
I think the best example of this that I know of is probably this wallet called Moon, and it's just simple, straightforward. It's a great. It does an amazing thing with key management that my mom and friends new to Bitcoin can understand. Does amazing in storage, and it also has a very clever implementation of Lightning, so that you can use it in a transactional way without having to think about it. Just with QR codes in a way that makes sense. So more work like that, I think, really brings us forward.
And lastly, here is the final question they were all asked, a bit of a rapid fire question about what they see in Bitcoin's future.
Let's wrap things up with a final question for each of you. I guess what is your hope for Bitcoin? How it can impact the world? Let's see, Elon, do you want to start with that? So what's your hope? What's your hope for Bitcoin?
Well, my hope for, I guess, crypto in general is that it can improve the efficiency of the information system that we call money. So if the core efficiency of money is improved and money has less error, where, like I said, error is like any kind of government interference or fraud or anything like that, this will naturally lead to basically a better standard of living and more power to the individual, which I very much agree with.
Great. Kathy?
Yeah, and I would segue from what Elon just said is, money has powerful network effect qualities. And so, we talked about ESG earlier. I think that, of course, that aspiration, having this money be the best from an ESG point of view, that's really talking about solving some of the world's problems right now, which we definitely want to do. But I also am very excited about this idea of network effect and the convergence of blockchain technology and artificial intelligence from a technology point of view. I think, think about the internet in the earliest days. We couldn't imagine what was going to happen, but the impetus to growth was pretty incredible. So I am looking at this rules-based monetary policy, making for better lives around the world, as we've just said. But I'm also looking at the technology itself and the convergence between blockchain technology and artificial intelligence, to change the world in ways that we cannot imagine right now, solving even more problems, but creating more opportunities as well, which is the history of technology and disruptive innovation.
Jack, what's your hope for Bitcoin?
My hope is that it creates world peace or helps create world peace. I mean, Elon said it earlier, like we have all these monopolies of violence and the individual doesn't have power. And the amount of cost and distraction that comes from our monetary system today is real. And it takes away attention from the bigger problems. Some of the bigger problems that Elon is trying to solve, like get us to a multi-planetary humanity. All these distractions that we have to deal with on a daily basis take away from those bigger goals that affect every single person on this planet, increasingly so. So it may sound a little bit ridiculous, but like you fix that foundational level and everything above it improves in such a dramatic way. So it's going to be long term, but my hope is definitely peace.
All right, so there you have it. That was the highlights from the B-Word event. Let me know what you guys thought of their discussion in the comments below. Do you agree with what they said? Do you not agree with it? Leave your opinions down below. Alright guys, that pretty much does it for this video. If you enjoyed, please consider hitting the like, hitting subscribe, and turning on my post notifications. And I'll see you all tomorrow for my next video. Peace out, everybody.